Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome to Go Get It Podcast, episode 9. And today I have Javiohn on here, a.k.a. Arm King from Instagram, dude. And I just want to say thank you for hopping on here, man. And I'm excited for the conversation that we're going to have. A lot of good information is going to be spilled out through here. So why don't you go ahead and kind of give yourself a little intro.
All right, so my name is Javiohn Seymour. I'm a 22-year-old college kid who basically just graduated back in May with the whole coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
I started bodybuilding when I was 18, 19 years old, freshman year of college. And don't ask me how I did it, but I pretty much was able to do bodybuilding consistently throughout all 4 years of college.
Mm-hmm.
Been to
was
national.
was that like a – because I feel like a lot of people think it's like a challenge. Like, how did you overcome – because, you know, obviously, like, nightlife and going out and stuff like that. Like, how were you able to stay so focused throughout, you think?
Well, for one, I wasn't the typical college kid. I didn't go out. I didn't party a lot. I was so invested in bodybuilding that, okay, if I want to be successful in it, I have to put my all into it. So therefore, I tried to refrain from doing things that wouldn't benefit me. You know what I mean? So in order to pay for these shows, I got to work. I was working 3 jobs at one point while still going to class.
Man. And training, obviously. And training for you takes about 2-3 hours sometimes, I'm assuming?
Sometimes. I mean, really and truly, when it comes to training, I try to get in and get out as fast as I can.
Gotcha.
If I'm in there longer, I'm doing stuff I probably shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I got just extra stuff, like, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, other than that, I was able to compete all 4 years of college, still going to class, still working. I mean, it's kind of simple when you really try to eliminate certain things that are not going to benefit you. See, a lot of my friends, they would invite me to go out, of course. I mean, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Our age group.
Yeah.
I just wasn't like that. You know what I mean? It gave me a discipline to stay focused on what I was trying to achieve or what I'm going to achieve. And that was it, really. You know?
That's honestly like crazy, man, because a lot of people are just like, dude, I can't like focus on working out while I'm in college. Like, I can't stay focused on that because I'm going out like a few times a week or whatever. Well, I mean, like, it's simple. Just stop going out so much, or stop going out at, like, in general, you know what I mean? And just focus on those goals specifically. Because like even one night going out, I don't know the exact science behind this. Maybe you could go a little bit more in depth, but I believe one night going out and drinking heavy, that can also affect like the results, like long term. I'm pretty sure even just throughout the week, it can affect the results.
I feel like it could.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it could, but half the time when I was getting ready for stuff or whatever, like when I would be on prep and my friends would ask me out, I still had schoolwork to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Most of my friends were already graduated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they had all the free time in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't get me wrong. Did I have my fun? Yeah, when there was a time for it. Like, let's say I'm getting done with the show. Typically, when I got done with shows, it was around the holidays because I would always try to set it up to match my schedule. There's no way I'm going to be on peak week on finals week.
Yeah,
you know
yeah, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
Dude. Holy crap, that'd be awful. You just feel like shit probably, and you have to study your ass off, so it's just even worse, man. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Shoot, this one last prep that I did getting ready for Miami. Miami was back in November. This was the week of Thanksgiving? Yeah.
And by the way, I'll try to have photos of you if you want to send me them from you in Miami, and I'll put them on the side. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. But Miami's was the week of Thanksgiving, which means if you're in school, you know, you're probably getting ready for finals.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I told my professors, I was like, hey, I need at least 2 weeks to myself. I'm not going to be coming to class. Just send me my work and I'll do it online or whatever.
Really?
Yeah, ended up having to take some of the finals after Thanksgiving break as soon as everyone comes back.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And they didn't have a problem with you like rescheduling all your stuff and doing your stuff online and all that?
At that point, it was my senior year. Most of the professors I already knew.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they knew what my schedule was like. They knew I was a competitor and stuff. So as long as I was going to class every day, doing my homework and stuff like I was supposed to, I mean, they understood. They're willing to work with you.
Yeah. I got you. Especially when you get to those like 400 level, 300 level classes, and you just like it's a smaller class, not like one of those giant lecture halls like Bio 101 or like Chem 101, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why don't you go? So obviously everyone has like their own background as to how they got into training, and I'll ask you specifically later how you got specifically into bodybuilding. But I want to ask you, how specifically did you start getting into training in general, like sports in high school or your own story? Why don't you go ahead and explain?
Like when I first started like lifting weights and all that?
Yeah. Like what kind of like gave you that initial motivation, and like what age was that, you think?
Okay. So I grew up in a single parent household. My mom mostly took care of me and stuff like that. So you can imagine I kind of didn't gravitate to team sports as much as any other kid would. So my mom had me in boxing and stuff like that. I used to be a boxer. I did mixed martial arts and stuff like that. I actually wanted to be like a competitive mixed martial arts and stuff like that.
MMA type thing? MMA type thing?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Yes, sir. I did boxing and I did mixed martial arts. And then going towards high school, I think my junior year, I did wrestling. My freshman year is when I first started lifting weights, and that's when martial arts got thrown out the window.
Really?
So I'm 5'11", right?
Mm-hmm.
Like any other freshman high school kid, I say, oh, I want to play football.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone in freshman year, they're like, no, I'm gonna play football next year if I don't play it this year. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Exactly. I'm 5'11". I was 130 something pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine how small that is. I was built like an extension cord.
Yeah, and 5'11", freshman year. And how much do you weigh now?
Right now, I'm 230.
230. God damn, man.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
Yeah. So anyway, going along with that, I wanted to be on the football team, but the coach told me I was too small. But they invited me to go out to the whole summer weight training regimen that they did.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, that's what I did for the 3 months of that summer. Now, because of the fact, you're doing boxing and mixed martial arts, anyone will tell you that you're doing a lot of cardio, so you're not going to put on any weight. So that was pretty much the reason why.
You were struggling putting on weight?
Yeah, that was pretty much the reason why I was so skinny. Couldn't put on weight for nobody's business. If you talk to my family, I was eating McDonald's every single day.
So there's no excuse not to gain weight.
Yeah, exactly, man. So those 3 months that I had that summer, I kid you not, I went from 130, 135 to about 170 to 180.
Damn.
And that was because, like, as soon as I started weight training, I was eating like nobody's business. Stuffing down steak sandwiches before practice, eating steak sandwiches after. Don't get me wrong, my dad was trash. No one knew about dieting.
Yeah.
That young. So, that was when my whole mindset changed. I was like, I don't even like football anymore. I just like weightlifting. I just like training. And then, of course, you go on YouTube, you watch C.T. Fletcher and all them, and you go, oh, well, I want to be a bodybuilder, But, at that point, you're 14 years old. You don't want to be that one kid in high school, like, I want to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
At the age of 14, when everyone else is playing football and a whole bunch of other sports.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess that's like the popular sports, I guess. You know what I mean? That, like, oh, the cheerleaders are going to, like, invite the football players, all this stuff. Like, it's social stigma, basically. So
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, ever since then, I've been stuck with it, really.
Mm-hmm.
I just always loved being in the gym and the weight room and all that.
Mm-hmm. I got you. And I honestly really resonate with your story, but I took like a slightly different path. So I started training for wrestling freshman year. I'd never wrestled before my freshman year of high school. And when I got introduced to weight training, I too was just like immediately hooked. Like I could not stop. But I did wrestle throughout high school. But even
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
Oh, okay, sorry. And even through like in the off season and stuff like that, like I would just be training all the time because I just couldn't stop, man. I was like, I don't want to feel like how I did before I didn't work out. Like it's just addicting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like it's a crazy thing, man. And so, what specifically kind of drew you to start bodybuilding specifically? Like, because there's powerlifting, there's a bunch of different sports with weight training. So, Why don't you go ahead and explain why you specifically chose bodybuilding as your sport that you're doing right now?
Well, okay. First of all, I gotta ask you, where are you from?
I'm from New York. Right now, I'm in Long Island.
Long Island. Okay. So I live in Georgia. The place where I'm from in Georgia is called Augusta, small city. The gym when I first got into weightlifting, I was just weightlifting with football players, just like I said, but didn't have a gym membership. Didn't get one until my junior year or senior year of high school, I think. And at that point, I was already watching YouTube videos of CT Fletcher, Rich Piano. Rich Piano was my favorite dude to watch on YouTube.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, legend. Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of the reason why my arms are ridiculous now. Okay. If anyone knows, then you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I didn't get a gym membership to my senior year. At that point, I kind of ran into an old friend of mine who, you go into the gym doing the same stuff, you're going to have people that are going to notice that. And they'll be like, hey, you know what? Let me show you some other stuff. The guy apparently was a personal trainer, and he ended up becoming one of my first bodybuilding coaches. I actually met him back when I was 12, by the way, but that's beside the point. But anyway, he was kind of like, oh, you got a future in bodybuilding. Why don't you pursue it? Like anybody else, I threw it off saying, oh, I'm not ready for it. I don't have enough size for it. So I didn't actually compete until my freshman year in college. Freshman year in college, I get a gym membership down here. Ran into some of the big guys you see me working out with. They were the first guys I ever really met in the gym. And my gym was hosting their own bodybuilding competition.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of what initiated that little bodybuilding thing.
Exactly. So my friends, they were like, oh, Javiohn, you should do it. Be a friendly competition to see who will be better. Well, like I said, didn't know anything about diving. So I was like, yeah, okay. I'm going to get ready for it. Within the first 3 weeks of prep, all 5 of them dropped out of the show. Yeah. I didn't know anything about dieting, so I'm literally eating like sesame chicken and broccoli and like as a meal and stuff like that. Until my old coach, the very first coach I had, found out about it. He was like, oh, no. That's not how you do it. And he basically helped me prep for my first show.
And what was your modified eating routine like? Is it similar to what you eat now, or can you describe it a little bit, what you were eating during that first bodybuilding show?
The foods were the same, except I actually had to end up getting ready for the show in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So of course, you got to kick things in overdrive, and I'm basically eating same stuff I'm eating now, just less of it. You know what I mean? Of course, once that whole diet switch, when I didn't know what I was doing to actually go into a structured meal plan, I was like, well, damn, this kind of sucks. You know what I mean?
It's terrible. Yeah.
I was like, because my first thought was when I was eating egg whites and grits, and I made the mistake of putting cheese on it. And my coach messaged me. He was like, why are you putting cheese in your grits? I was like, what do you mean? Like, it's a southern thing. You put cheese in the grits. He was like, no, man, you a bodybuilder now. You can't have nothing. I was like, well, what can I have? He was like, don't even worry about it.
Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, he was like, don't even worry about it. I was like, all right, fine. And I was like, well, hold up.
You're good.
I'm sorry about that. I had a call. But I was like, well, damn. Y'all bodybuilders do this for fun? But, I mean, of course, you go to the show and you end up winning it. And you hear everybody else talking about how you have so much potential. I mean, you're going to want to keep doing it again, especially after your first show that you win.
I got you. And just to bring perspective to people that might not understand what you were saying about the cheese, like simple things like cheese and like ranch and basically just like regular toppings that the normal person wouldn't think of like impacting your diet, but really that stuff can add like 300, 400, 500 calories sometimes, depending on what it is. So yeah, that's just crazy. So when you were doing your first bodybuilding show, because I guess the phrases bulking and cutting are extremely popular and something that I even use a lot. And I'm just wondering, did you go through a bulking and cutting then, and do you do bulking and cutting now?
At that point, getting ready for my first show, no, I didn't. I didn't know anything about the whole process of bodybuilding. I just kind of threw myself into it. I was like, I'm just going to do this show. I have no idea what I'm doing. Then 5 weeks out, my coach was like, all right, I'm going to take you under your wing now because what you're doing before was just nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I didn't know about the whole process of having a structured diet, of putting on size, of, the process of cutting. I was kind of just having fun with it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I do the whole bulking and cutting season now? Yes, I'm currently in the off season right now, actually. The very first one, actually.
Like a first official off season?
First official off season.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really had quote unquote an on season, off season, because I've been hopping from show to show.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha. So how beneficial do you think it's been for you, someone that's like bodybuilding? How beneficial has it been for you, for your training, for your body, do you think, to have that off season, and obviously for your future competitive season?
So a lot of people think of off season thinking, oh, I can just eat dirty, bulking foods and stuff like that. Have I done that before? Yes. Did it benefit me? Not as much as I can say now. This is the very first structured off season now where I'm still keeping my foods clean, but I'm being more lenient. It's not just me going out eating pizza and burgers whenever I feel like it, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. But I see that you do have a cheat meal every now and then, but like that's, like once a week or something like that?
It's in moderation.
Moderation.
Moderation, yeah. So sometimes it can be 1 to 2 times a week. But as far as as it's going to benefit me now, I definitely think the off season can be beneficial to anybody, any competitor really, especially if you treat it the right way. Like, don't use the off season to get sloppy with what you're doing, because I can tell you from an experience, when you go from just eating nothing but junk, like just pure junk, or one meal a day or something like that, and then you hop back into a prep where sometimes you might have to eat 6 meals a day and it's all clean, you're going to be missing them pizza and burgers a hell of a lot quicker than you would keeping your foods clean, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a whole lot harder for you to get in shape and keep that muscle as you diet down. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I think when it comes to an off season, if you're going to do it right. Keep it structured. Try to keep most of the food clean. I'm not saying you got to eat fish and asparagus for every single meal, but try to have some leniency with it. You know what I mean? Just don't go sloppy, complete sloppiness. Mm-hmm. Because when it comes time for you to prep again, you will be missing that food 2 weeks into your diet, and it's going to suck. Mm-hmm. So,
and even when you're in season, for your bodybuilding competitions, do you have at least one cheat meal a week, or you just don't cheat whatsoever? I'm just curious about how you go about your prep.
So the coach that I work with is Omar Ventura. Mm-hmm. Have I done preps with cheat meals? Yes. It usually goes to be once every 7 days, depending on how I look. I've done some preps where I don't have cheat meals. It's just fine. Omar will say, you really don't need cheat meals, but sometimes you might need it just to reset your mind, just to keep you sane or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I have done preps without cheat meal just to see how I would like it. It's really no difference to me.
Mm-hmm. I got you. And when you've been bulking, I just from your Instagram videos, I'll probably show a few on the side. You are an extremely strong guy, and has your strength been benefiting a lot from this from this bulking season that you're in right now?
Of course. This is the strongest I've ever really been. Mm-hmm. I can honestly say the physique that I had prior, leading up the progression that I've had, I've never really been a heavy lifter. I never really trained heavy most of the time because I'm usually training by myself. I don't have anyone to, spot me or push me or whatever. And I'm not the type of guy to go up to people like, hey, can you spot me and all that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I really don't. Before I really didn't even train heavy. Now I do. But one, it's just me trying different things, really. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I got you. Can you give me some numbers that you've maybe some recent PRs that you've hit? Because I just think like super impressive numbers lately.
Okay, so oh god,
Mm-hmm.
I mean right now well back in December I squatted 510,
Mm-hmm.
bench press 415.
Damn, dude.
That's on flat. I mean that's on flat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh, what else?
Your barbell row is pretty impressive.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I wouldn't even think about that.
Yeah, no, you're
Yeah,
good.
I mean, right now I can roll 315 for reps right now. I have rolled 405 for about 6,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no point in me going that heavy.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was just having fun that time.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I mean, that's really it. You know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not as strong as most of my peers or whatever. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't consider it much.
Mm-hmm. And you say you're not as strong as your peers, so I feel like that's how important it is to be surrounding yourself with the right group of people that are like-minded to similar goals that you have, and those people should be surpassed where you're at right now, so you can keep motivating yourself to get there. What do you think about that?
I think it's true.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's true. The people that I work out now probably have pushed me a whole lot more than I've ever gone within the last couple of years, really. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Because years ago, if you would have told me, oh, okay, we're going to incline bench 315 for reps, I would have been like, I wouldn't have did it. Yeah. Me? Exactly. No. So it's definitely important to surround yourself with people who are like-minded as you. The guys that I train with, they're not men's physique guys. They're not men's physique guys. They're just straight up open bodybuilders and classic.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it benefits me because a lot of men's physique guys, one, they don't like training heavy. Most of them don't train legs. We'll get to that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them don't train legs. You know, it's all about, just trying to reach new heights. You know what I mean? If I want to be the best I can be, I feel like I really don't need to train like a men's physique guy. I need to go above and beyond.
Mm-hmm. I got you. And how important so you just explained a few minutes ago your strength numbers currently. So how important is it to be getting stronger, not only for bodybuilding, but just for like in general, like how important is getting stronger to muscle mass, correlative to muscle mass?
I mean, that's a good question. Because you talk to a lot of bodybuilders, including myself, which I agree with. When it comes to getting stronger for muscle mass or whatever, if you're a bodybuilder, it really shouldn't even matter to you. Because when you get on stage, no one's going to ask you how much you bench press.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? No one's going to ask you how much you squat. But if you're really trying to improve your physique, then I feel like you do need to train heavy. Now, I'm not saying you need to go balls to the wall every session.
Not like powerlifting. You're not a powerlifter, but like train somewhat heavy, like on movements.
Exactly. So I'm not saying you need to go balls to the wall every time, because that's usually what I did. What I used to do before is completely different from what I do now. Like now I track numbers, I track my progress and stuff like that. Up till last year, if I felt like, hey, you know what, I'm going to go heavy today. If I want to go balls to the wall today, that's what I would do. That's not the most optimal thing you can do, really. If you really want to try and measure out your progress, I definitely say you want to track your numbers. You want to track your progress. You need to practice on execution of every lift that you do. Because a lot of guys, when they go heavy, they just throw execution out the window. So when you go to bench 315 or 405 or whatever it is, you're not even going to feel it in your chest to begin with if you're trying to improve your chest.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But that's just the mindset that a lot of guys have. And that's something that my mindset has shifted away from, really.
Mm-hmm. I got you. And is there any certain rep scheme that has benefited you a lot? Like, is there like maybe like a 4x6, 5x5 is huge for strength training specifically, but obviously you're a bodybuilder. So what has been like an optimal rep range for you for like compound lifts? And what has been optimal for like accessory lifts, like cable rows, bicep curls, and all that stuff. And we'll get into arm training in a few minutes.
Yeah. So when it comes to compound lifts, I definitely say the 6 to 8 rep range. More so me practicing sets with heavy weight, because a lot of guys, they'll just go up to a top set. Me, with what I'm doing now, my programming reflects of me trying to stick with the heavy weight, but I'm trying to do it for sets. So I might have 275 on the incline for anywhere from 3 sets of 8 to 10. And last week I had 315 on flat bench press for 4 rounds of 6 to 8. You know what I mean? So that's what my training reflects now. Now, when it comes to accessory lifts, like arms or whatever, I can definitely tell you high rep ranges, anywhere from 15 to 20. That's honestly how I got my arms the way how they are now. But yeah, that's it, really.
I got you. And for arm training, so you say high reps, 15 to 20 reps. What are some key exercises that you found throughout the years that's really helped your arm development? Because obviously you're known for your arms, aka Arm King, goes with the intro. So why don't you go ahead and explain like what exercises have really benefited you think, whether it's bicep, tricep exercises, or whatever you think.
It's kind of hard to say because I would say all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But sticking with the basics. So for me, if I had to give you my top 3 bicep exercises, I'm sorry I'm looking away. I'm thinking about it right now.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, I haven't, So for me, I would definitely say a barbell curl, straight arm barbell curl. Let's go with incline curls, incline dumbbell curl, and preacher curls, definitely preacher curls. For triceps, it would be tricep rope extensions. Golly, there's so many. Oh yeah, tricep body weight dips, bench dips, and skull crushers. But the biggest thing, what I was going to say about arm training, is that you need to focus on your form. You always see in any gym, anywhere, you will always go in there and see somebody. I don't even know how you mess up a bicep curl, but they
mess it up. They do mess it up. Yeah.
Yeah, they half rep and they're using their lower back to get the weight up. And then you got the guys that be doing this and stuff like that. They're looking ridiculous. No, like straighten your arm out, come all the way up, and that's it. Focus on tempo, execution, and really and truly just form is the biggest thing with these guys. And that comes from bicep and tricep. When you see somebody doing tricep rope extensions, they're half repping. They're not going all the way down. You know what I mean? But that's it really, because you're not really getting the best of the movement.
Mm-hmm. You're not getting the bang for your buck. Yeah.
Yeah, and once you get the movement down, then you can start adding in tempo reps. Oh, okay, I'm gonna do a 5-second hold, or I'm gonna do pause reps on a preach curl and hold it for 5 seconds. Take it to failure, do drop sets and all that other stuff. But a lot of people, they just don't even get step 1. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that's it.
I got you. And that's a lot of good advice right there, man. And how many times a week would you say maybe someone that's like lacking arms, and then how many times a week do you personally train arms?
Well, now I haven't trained arms since October.
Like you haven't had a straight arm day since October?
Yeah. Well, actually, no, I take that back. If you're talking about a straight up arm day, then that would be February.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's still like so it's not too often that you do a straight arm day is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. But how about before February and before the whole coronavirus was even a thing, how much were you training arms to get your arms where they are right now?
So, okay. Me having the arms that I have now is a result of me when I was younger. Before the whole gym, before even having a gym membership, before even having a gym, I had 15-pound dumbbells. all I did was Rich Piano's workouts, doing
8-hour arm
the
workout.
feeders. Yeah, the feeders. I would be doing, I think he was what was it, 40 hammer curls, and then you lay on your back and do 60 skull crushers.
You actually did the 8-hour arm workout?
Oh, no, God, no,
Okay.
no. But I was doing stuff like the feeders because I didn't have a gym membership to do the 8-hour workout. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it was stuff like that. And then when I first started bodybuilding, did I have a real arm day? Yeah. I think it wasn't until I got with Omar. He was like, "Yeah, you need to stop training arms completely. Like, don't even worry about it, or whatever." The only time when I would train arms now, or recently, like last year, was when it was peak. We were getting ready for a show, and I was just trying to burn extra calories. But it would only be one exercise. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Be like one exercise for bicep, and then that'll be it, really.
Wait, so let's say you have like a pull day or something like that, or a back day. You don't throw any bicep in there? It's just strictly back?
Strictly back.
So you literally just don't even touch on your arms?
No.
Wow. That's incredible, man. So what advice would you give to someone if they do have, let's say they do have a gym membership, what advice would you give them if they're having trouble growing their arms?
I mean, treat it like any muscle. If you have a lagging body part, a lot of people say overtraining, but any of your friends in exercise science can tell you overtraining really doesn't exist if you're getting the proper nutrients in, if you're getting the proper rest in. Like, if you have a lagging body part, I would say train it up to 2 to 3 times a week. And let's say if you couldn't even do that, well, let's just go with, it's pull day. Let me go with 2 exercises for bicep, and I'm done. You don't have to have a full bicep workout doing 5 or 6 exercises. You know what I mean? Just simple stuff like that. Now, if you want to do, like, just make sure you have. I'm choking over myself. If you have like 2 rest days in between it, don't train the muscle like while it's sore. You know what I mean? You just want to give it proper rest. You need to make sure you nutrition this properly, because if you don't eat, you don't grow. Other than that, that's it. Really, that's all I can say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The biggest thing that I see with people nowadays is that it's their nutrition and it's their rest. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They can train balls to the wall every single day in the gym, but you see them months later, they haven't made any progress. And you ask them how they're eating. Oh, I'm only eating 2 meals a day. How much rest have you been getting? About 2 hours a night. You know what I mean? Certainly, you got to make sure everything is in order before you can say, "Oh, I can't grow." You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's it.
I completely agree with that, because I've had plenty of people that are like, "Yo, man, like I eat all the time, man," and then you hang out with them, and then you're like that's eating to you? Like,
yeah.
Like you obviously, you probably consume way more calories than me, but I'm just like, some people are like, "Oh, I'm having trouble gaining size," and I'm like, well, it's because every time I see you, you drink a glass of water and that's it, and that's why you're not growing, man. So and by the way, what advice would you give to someone that's actually having trouble gaining weight? Because you coming from a skinnier guy perspective, what could you best advice could you give someone to try to start gaining lean muscle mass?
Nutrition and weight. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 biggest. I said nutrition and weight. Nutrition and rest. My bad.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, nutrition and rest. Those are the 2 big things that I would worry about. So really and truly, when it comes to that, I would ask the guy, for one, just log everything you eat. That'll be their first starting point. Find out how many calories you just consume for that day. Matter of fact, do it for a whole week. Find out how many calories you consume on the daily. Okay, fine. Then I want you to add another 500 calories to that. Just small little increments like that, just to get you to where you are. If you don't see a weight change, just make little small adjustments. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But yeah. And then rest comes into it. If you're not getting at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep, you're not resting properly, and you're not getting enough rest or whatever. I would definitely say rest and nutrition.
Mm-hmm. Those are the most important aspects you think to grow specifically, you think, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I've always found, like, if people out there are having trouble gaining weight, I always found that it was easier for me, and I do this for a lot of my clients as well. Sometimes it's as simple as having 2 scoops of peanut butter before you go to bed,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
even adding olive oil, some healthy fats like into your meals, because that's all like an extra 100 calories, and it's a very small amount of food to be consuming. So
Yeah.
like, is there any key foods that you think have helped you gain like lean weight, you think, or
Steak.
steak?
Steak. Definitely steak. You definitely want to focus on, now when it comes to bulking, you really don't, a lot of people worry about, oh, I gotta up my protein. I gotta up my protein. Not necessarily. You more so want to play around with your carbs and your fats. That's usually, and I don't mean to give out dieting advice or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
but that usually what works for most people. You know what I mean? So I would definitely say like steak, salmon, carbs. You probably want to go, I mean, you can play around with carbs if you're bulking.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to keep it clean 100% of the time. Rice, sweet potatoes. For fats, I can't stand avocado, but if it works for you, go for it. Peanut butter, olive oil, macadamia oil, small stuff like that. It's just like you said, really.
Mm-hmm. I got you. And I wanted to cover just a few more things. So how do you feel about when people come up to you and they're like, oh, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but it's happened to me a couple of times. And actually it's happened to my last podcast guest as well. He was like, well, people come up to me and they're like, it's just genetics. It's
Mm-hmm.
just genetics. Has anyone ever come up to you and said that?
Plenty of times.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of times.
And what's like, even though you want to give them a full explanation, here's your chance to give them a full explanation. What do you think that like people need to know before they can just come up to you and tell you, oh, you were naturally born with this gift?
Yeah. I mean, I can honestly say I never really thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
But someone comes up to you and say, oh, you look that way just because of genetics or whatever. Well, I'll be like, hey, look at my family. No one in my family works out, and no one has ever, looked like me before. You know what I mean? I just take it as a compliment. Do I get annoyed with it sometimes? Yeah, because like anybody
On
else.
Instagram, you get it all the time, man. Like just people,
Yeah.
genetics.
Yeah, I mean, you don't, but at the same time, people will say that to you, but they don't see the hard work that you put in and stuff like that. They don't see that you do what you do on a consistent basis. They only go off of a picture that they see you post or just seeing you in person for the first time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to that, my first initial thought is, one, yeah, maybe they're probably right. Two, they don't know any better. You know what I mean? Because half the time the people giving me these compliments, they don't know me. Mm-hmm. They never asked me a question or anything like that.
They clearly might not be fully educated on training in general if they're coming up to you and just being like, hey, it is all genetics.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, half the time, that's usually what my thought process is when someone gives me a compliment or a criticism or anything, really. They just don't know any better. You know what I mean? But, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's really it.
Mm-hmm. I got you. I just wanted to ask you that because I just know a bunch of bodybuilders, I'm sure, get that question all the time. And even I'm not a bodybuilder, obviously, but I have been told that several times. And I'm just like, you don't know the amount of work I've been putting in, man. Like, it's just like, it's messed up. So I wanted to ask you, and I think this is going to be one of my closing questions. So when do you plan on competing again? And do you plan on getting your pro card at some point?
Well, do I plan on competing again? Of course. I got no choice, really. You want a pro card, you got to go for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was actually on prep for Junior Nationals earlier this year. I think I was maybe 8 to 10 weeks in. I think it was, maybe February? The show wasn't until June 20th, so it really just passed.
Mm-hmm.
But they canceled the show back in February. So I was like, oh, well, okay. And I can honestly say, looking back at it now, due to this whole coronavirus thing, it kind of, and me, myself included, it kind of forced a lot of competitors to sit down and be like, okay, are you actually ready to compete again?
Mm-hmm.
Have you made any improvements whatsoever before you get back on stage again? So it kind of had me sit down and realize, okay, I haven't really improved my physique. I'm just basically rushing up there hoping I'll get it. Um, and not to mention, I was still in school at the time. This was my senior year, so I had a lot of other stuff to focus on. Graduation, you know the whole idea.
Mm-hmm.
Do I plan on going for my pro card again? Yes. Can I tell you when? I don't necessarily know yet due to the whole coronavirus thing. Me and my coach, we were thinking about Universe, especially if he likes the way how I'm looking throughout this whole off season, which he has. I'm thinking about Universe in November in New Jersey, so I'll be up there.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I can't really say much about what next show I'm going to do because nothing really and truly is guaranteed right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
But you're saying that you've definitely taken advantage of the opportunity that coronavirus is kind of giving you to grow, get stronger, and just have a very productive off season. So you're really ready for your next show.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, when you get ready for a show, anybody tells you when you're on prep, you're putting your body through a lot of stress. Last year, I did Junior National Chicago in June. Came in second place. I stepped on stage. I went from 230 fat, 230 to 196 on the stage that day. Then, because of the fact I came in second place is a whole lot worse than last, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You were right there.
Like, just like, wow, you were, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I didn't cheat. I think I had like one cheat meal right after that. And then went right back into prep for Miami later that year in November. Miami Nationals, where I ended up losing muscle going into it. I was peeled out of my mind, but I lost a couple pounds of muscle, unfortunately. So I ended up coming in sixth. So with the whole coronavirus, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to rush into another show. I got to let my body rest. I got to grow. I got some areas I need to improve on. I know what the judges want. Why not take advantage of it? You know, there are some competitors I know who are friends of mine, and I respect them a lot for it. They were already on prep for shows in December. So December leading into this year's February and March, when they're starting to cancel shows, they're still like dieting, like as we speak, like, what is it, July now? Mm-hmm. Most of them have been dieting ever since last December because they still want a chance of going for their pro card. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But the thing is, nothing is guaranteed right now. So do I respect them for it? Yes, 100%. Because if it was me, I'd probably be doing the same thing. But for some of them, it's kind of like how I said before. Like, do you really think you're ready to step on stage again? You know what I mean? Because in my opinion, every time you step on stage, if you're going for your pro card and you haven't gotten it yet, you should be trying to get better every single time. You know what I mean? You can't keep bringing the same look because you're going to end up placing the same way. Marginal improvements bring marginal results, man. Mm-hmm. So, of course, I was going to take advantage of this whole coronavirus. I had to let my body rest, put my focus on things that needed more attention to. But, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what's crazy about bodybuilding is that every sport, there should be some sort of improvement every single time that you choose to challenge like that competition or whatever. But with bodybuilding, it's like you physically see that person has improved, whether it's, small improvements. And obviously, as you get more experience in bodybuilding, improvements are harder to come by because your body's adapting and all that stuff. But I just think that's what's crazy about the sport of bodybuilding. It's really like every other sport. but it's just like you are literally making changes to your body as opposed to making changes to your performance, your lifting numbers. Like you are making physical improvements every single time. So I think it's just incredible that you can see the transformations.
Yeah, yeah. And I think this goes back to one of your questions you had for me about what do I think about going against enhanced athletes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In my opinion about that, I guess you could say it really doesn't matter to me. I really didn't think about it. There was a time period when I first got into the NPC. I was like, oh man, I'm going against the big guys. I got to bring it. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, everyone got to work just as hard as the next guy. You know what I mean? Regardless if they're enhanced or natural.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone has to show up like how they're supposed to the day of. You know what I mean? Everyone has to do their homework. Just because you're natural doesn't mean anything. Just because he's on gear doesn't mean anything. Y'all still got to diet. Still got to do that damn cardio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the principles are the same for either one, really. You know what I mean? I really try not to think about that. You know what I mean? I try to focus on myself because at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, that really applies to any sport. Like you should be, I mean, I guess in a way, maybe compare yourself to others in a way that's going to make you more competitive, but don't compare yourself so much where you lose your own sight of your own progress, I guess.
Exactly.
So to an extent, you can compare yourself to other people, but make sure you're really focusing on improving yourself. And obviously with bodybuilding, make sure you're making those improvements that the judges want you to make. So honestly, last question, what advice would you give to someone that's thinking about maybe getting into bodybuilding or like thinking about getting into a bodybuilding show or just like what advice would you give them? And what would you just say to them in general?
My advice that I would give them is that you need to understand it's a lifestyle at the end of the day. Because this is something you want to do, it's all well and good. But your whole decisions are going to be changed. You know what I mean? If you're a college kid like me, you're not going to be able to go out every night. And if you do, you might be able to, but you might not end up being
You're not going to be as good as you can. You're not going to be as good as you can.
Yeah, you're not going to be as good as you can. You know what I mean? It's a lifestyle. You got to understand that. That's what a lot of guys my age really don't understand and stuff like that. You can't bring your meal to the club. I'm sorry, you just can't. Especially if it's some asparagus. You know what I mean? But it's a lifestyle. You gotta love it. You're going to face criticism, like anything else. So you want to most try to get into it for the whole social media thing, for the whole social media clout or whatever, and then get all upset when someone posts a negative comment or whatever. One, like anything else, you put something out there, you gotta expect someone to like it and not to like it. When you step on stage, some judge might not like your physique. You gotta be okay with that. You gotta be
open to criticism.
You got to be happy just to go back into the gym and try to improve. You know what I mean? It's all really, my biggest advice would be, one, it's a lifestyle. Understand that. Two, you got to try to remain positive as much as you can. And three, probably most of all, don't get into it if you don't think you'll enjoy it. It's got to be something that you really enjoy, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to go far. You know what I mean? It'll just be another thing just to say that you did, but you really didn't get far with it just because, hey, I got burnt out. You know what I mean? But that's, I guess you could say you could treat it like any other sport, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But you got to be dedicated because it's a lifestyle. Enjoy it. You got to try and remain positive. And definitely focus on your own self, because a lot of competitors that I see, they try to compare themselves to other competitors. You know what I mean? That doesn't matter until the day of. You know what I mean? And I'm guilty of this when I first started competing, because I would constantly look online and be like, oh, dude, such and such is going to be on stage right next to me. I swear to God. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. You know, you got to focus on yourself. You got to focus on yourself. It's a real big lifestyle change, though.
It is. And, like, especially, I can kind of, you can kind of compare it to high school wrestling almost. Because I remember when I first started wrestling and I had to cut weight, I was like, all right, this isn't just after school anymore. Like, this is my life now, because now I can't eat certain foods. And it was really mostly like a few days before like meets and stuff like that. But like, I felt so restricted, and I was just like, like this isn't just like 2 hours after school, 2 hours of practice, a few runs a week. This is like, after I get out, this is my life, because I have to be ready for my meet come the weekend. So I'm sure it's like very, very same mindset going into a bodybuilding show with a more strict approach to your diet.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100% correct right there. 100%.
I mean, I think we covered pretty much everything. And I'm gonna end the call, but you don't have to leave as soon as I finish it up. But I appreciate you hopping on here, man. I appreciate you giving all the knowledge that you give, and honestly, just keep the good content coming. And let me know when you compete next, because I'll shout it out and let my followers know when you're gonna compete next.
I appreciate that, man. It was good.
Yep. All right, I'm glad, man.